Hi there guys, Reaper here, and today's video is going to be kind of a follow-up to a video I did a few months ago, which was my Fraps versus Shadowplay versus Raptr video, which is basically those three things I've just mentioned are game capture softwares, which is basically the software you'll need to use if you have a YouTube gaming channel. You'll need a piece of software called game capture software in order to record the footage. And basically I wanted to do a test because there's quite a few of them out there now. I did a test between Fraps, Shadowplay and Raptr to try and determine what was the best if you've got a similar spec PC to mine. In my case I had an NVidia system, so I tested each of the three software on two different games, which was Darkest Dungeon, which was a fairly easy game to run and record. That's kind of a idea of what it might be like trying to record maybe a sort of less demanding game. And I tested Warhammer Vermintide, which is quite a demanding game, so basically wanted to see how each of the three softwares held up against both of those games. And I tended to find that Shadowplay, because I've got an NVIDIA system, if you've got a similar spec PC to mine, if you've got a GeForce card, you can run Shadowplay. That's generally going to be your best bet. If for whatever reason you don't meet the requirements of having Shadowplay, or if you've got an AMD system, because you have to have a GeForce graphics card to run Shadowplay, Raptr was a good alternative, but I thought Shadowplay was better for me at least, and for anyone who's probably got an NVIDIA system, because Raptr tended to have trouble running Vermintide, which was the second game. For whatever reason, just didn't seem to work too well. Didn't have any problems with Darkest Dungeon, seemed to be pretty stable with that, but my end conclusion was Shadowplay, best option if you've got an NVIDIA system, which isn't all that surprising considering it is designed for NVIDIA systems, but Raptr's a bit more flexible. You can use it with more sort of different types of hardware. So if you can't use Shadowplay, or if you've got options with Shadowplay, I said Raptr is probably your best alternative. Fraps didn't hold up too well, but those were kind of the test I did for that. Video seemed to get fairly good feedback. I contacted by the guys who worked for Raptr. Actually seemed like nice guys, gave me a few suggestions. Unfortunately, I tried a few things. Vermintide, for whatever reason, I couldn't get Raptr to run it properly. One of the guys commented who watched the video said, could I do kind of a follow-up just to see how Raptr and Shadowplay hold up with a few different other games? It might have just been something with Vermintide that Raptr didn't like. So I thought maybe, in the interest of fairness and just to see what it's like, I've got 3 more games for it to test. I'm going to do Shadowplay and Raptr again. I'm going to ignore Fraps this time because it's not worth doing. And I'm going to do a test on 3 more games. So I've got Tempest, which is a really nice early access pirate game on Steam. I've got the Mountain Blade Warband mod known as Warsword, which is a Warhammer Fantasy mod for Mountain Blade Warband, which is a really fun mod. Plus I thought it might be interesting trying to record a mod for a game, because mods aren't known for their stability, so I thought I'd kind of mix things up with that, see if that makes much of a difference. And I've got Chivalry Medieval Warfare as kind of the challenge for both games, which basically is a quite difficult game to run even with a high system. If you jack all the settings up to maximum, it looks really nice. All the particle effects, all the smoke and fire effects. There's a lot going on a big multiplayer map. It can be quite difficult to run. So I've got 2 kind of less challenging games, and I've got Chivalry Medieval Warfare max settings as kind of a challenge for both games, just to see how they hold up. So this is kind of another test. If you didn't see the last video, the original video where I had all 3, if you click on the annotation in the bottom right, that will take you to that. That gives you maybe a bit more context of what I'm talking about, and that was kind of the original test I did. If you are familiar with that, or maybe if you didn't watch that video, I've got the same parameters for this video. So basically each of the 3 games are going to be playing. I'm going to do a 5-minute recording for each with both Raptr and Shadowplay. So the same video setting, same in-game settings. I'm going to be recording both on 20 megabits per second. I'm looking at the file size of each 5-minute video for each game. Look at the recording smoothness, and I'll show you the footage individually and side by side, so you can see what the footage looks like for each game and each software once it's been uploaded to YouTube. So once you watch the video, you can see this is what it's going to look like if you're recording these settings side by side. So you can judge for yourself which you think produces the best video quality. And it's going to be uploaded to YouTube all in one video, which is the one you're watching now, in 16 megabits per second. So recorded 20 megabits per second, same video length, same in-game settings, uploaded in 16 megabits per second to YouTube. Bear in mind, YouTube is going to compress it down, so you're not going to get the same quality when you record as to when you upload. You're going to lose a little bit of quality on both sides when you upload. That's just what happens with YouTube. But hopefully that's as fair a test as I can give it. So hopefully maybe give a kind of more accurate follow-up on what happened earlier. Again, to bear in mind, last time I gave you the context, I have an NVIDIA system. I've made that very clear. Obviously this is designed for Shadowplay use. Shadowplay requires a GeForce card to run. Raptr does not. It wouldn't be surprising that Shadowplay runs on my system. All I can say is this is what happened to me. I have an NVIDIA system. Therefore, if you've got an NVIDIA system similar to mine, you're probably going to get the same results to me. I can only say what happened to me and what's likely to happen to you. So again, if Shadowplay does better, I can't comment on someone who's got an AMD system. You'll have to find someone who's done a test with that. Shadowplay is specifically designed for NVIDIA hardware. Raptr is not. Raptr you can use as long as you meet the minimum system requirements. You don't require a certain type of graphics card, which obviously you do for Shadowplay. So bear that in mind. That's why I said last time, if you've got an NVIDIA system, Shadowplay is probably better, and it was better for me. Raptor's a good alternative if obviously you can't use that. I'll put my PC specs in the description below. I just want to give you the full context. I can only say what happened to me, but I'm just going to get on with the test now. So we're going to start with the Mount & Blade Warband mod, so we're just going to cut to that now. Okay, so first up we've got the Shadowplay footage from the Warsword mod for Mount & Blade Warband. As you can see in the top right hand corner, you've got the Fraps FPS counter there. I wasn't recording with Fraps, as I said from the last video, it wasn't worth it, but it does have a very useful FPS counter. So Fraps wasn't recording at all, it was purely open just to give you that FPS counter in the top right, just so you can see it as you're watching the footage. As you can see, pretty much almost utterly constant 60 FPS, really smooth footage, didn't have any issues with Shadowplay on this end. File size for a 5-minute video was 723 megabytes, so not too big, pretty consistent. And I'm just going to let a bit of footage play out so you can just watch that there, but as for recording it, no problems whatsoever. Okay, so next up we've got the Raptor footage from the same game, similar sort of battle. Couldn't get exactly the same one unfortunately, but I think it's a fairly fair test. In this case, for a 5-minute video, it was 718 megabytes, so almost 5 megabytes in it, if that, next to nothing, pretty much negligible. In this case, the video quality, I'll let you judge for yourself. I'll play a bit more footage, I'll have a side-by-side comparison, so you can judge for yourself which of the kind of final products you think looks better. But again, with this one, with the Raptor footage, no frame rate issues whatsoever. So at least in terms of the file size and the sort of difficulty in recording, at least for the Warband mod, absolutely neck and neck, so no problems there. So as I say, I'll play a bit more footage and I'll give you a quick side-by-side as well. Okay, so next up we've got the Shadowplay recording of Tempest, which is the pirate game you're seeing now. Again with this one, absolutely smooth as you like, no problems whatsoever recording using Shadowplay. The file size, again 5-minute video, was 721 megabytes. Other than that, there's all your details. I'll let you watch the footage, ran as smooth as you need to, so there you are. So as before, same game, same length of video. This time it's the Raptor recording. This time it was 701 megabytes for again a 5-minute video. So again 721 to 701, pretty negligible difference, seem almost exactly the same. Other than that, no problems whatsoever. Again, recording this one, it was as if, as with the Shadowplay recording, there was basically no strain on my system whatsoever. That's what it felt like with a kind of less demanding game. Other than that, I'll show you a bit more footage, and again as before, I'll have another side-by-side so you compare the quality as you like. Okay, so the final test we've got is Chivalry Medieval Warfare. Now, as I said towards the start of the video, this was kind of going to be the challenge for both games. You can see in the top right hand corner, this is the Shadowplay footage again to begin with. I did dip below 60 a few times, but this was only in the places where I normally dip below 60 anyway, even without recording. So basically, I put the graphic settings to the highest. I'm on a big map, big draw distance, so I can see all the detail off in the distance. Really high graphics, a lot of players running around, so there's a lot of dismemberment, blood effects, smoke, fire, so there's a lot going on at the screen. So this was kind of a challenge to see, just because the other two games are quite easy to run. Both systems, both pieces of software I had managed to get 60 consistently with both. I wanted to see if I had a game where it's dipping below sort of 60 anyway, was recording as well with each software going to kind of add to that and make it more difficult for it to run. But Shadowplay seemed to do pretty well. I didn't get any dips below outside where I'd normally get them anyway. So where I'd normally get a couple of dips, so I'd hit about 55 FPS to 60. It would dip below 60 a few times. I didn't get any more when I was recording outside of the normal parameters. So Shadowplay doesn't seem to have any tangible effect on the actual recording of the gameplay. So if you're recording, I had basically, in my case at least, as I say, next to no difference between when I was recording and when I wasn't. Again, I'll show you the Raptr footage in a moment and you compare them both side by side. But as for the first test with Shadowplay, didn't have any noticeable dips outside of where I'd normally get them when I wasn't recording. And as before, second time we've got the Raptr footage. Now, I was pleasantly surprised here. I was expecting what happened last time with the Vermintide footage, which was the test of a more demanding game, which I did last time. This time I've done it with Chivalry. Last time I did it with the Warhammer Vermintide game, which is quite a fun game. What I found last time with Raptr, even after the guys at Raptr, nice enough guys, asked me to do a few more tests, added a couple of suggestions to maybe fix it. Couldn't really work out what it was. I think they just said they felt Vermintide was probably a bit too demanding just for this to run. I was expecting a similar situation with Chivalry because again this is my demanding game. However, it seemed to keep up with the Shadowplay footage, which I was quite impressed with. Again, had a couple of frame dips, but again not outside the usual parameters. I've got a couple anyway, even when I wasn't recording with either software, just because I've jacked the settings up just to make it a challenge for both software. Didn't seem to adversely affect the frame rate more than I normally get it. So it was kind of impressed by Raptr. Again, as I was saying, I was expecting it to just completely tank, mess up the frame rate, make it almost impossible to play the game, which is what happened with the Vermintide footage. But pleasantly surprised. Apologies, the frame rate counter for Fraps, for whatever reason, wasn't showing up in the Raptr footage for any of the games. However, you can see it's fairly smooth footage. The only choppy points were the same places I was getting a couple of frame rate dips in the Shadowplay footage. So again, I'll do one more side by side, but again, pleasantly surprised. It seemed to work pretty well. So it's time for kind of closing remarks now. So I've shown you all the pieces of footage, all three games. You've seen side-by-side comparisons, so you can compare the quality, which you might think looks better, or if you maybe don't think there's any real difference. At the same settings, the file sizes are practically the same. So it's kind of been a bit of a different result to the last test I did, where I found with Vermintide, as I said, Raptr just couldn't seem to run it. I had a bit of tech support from the guys at Raptr. They gave me a few suggestions, a few tweaks, try and make it work a bit better. Whatever it was, it seemed to just be, I think their final response was maybe Vermintide appears, there's no specific problem they can work out. Vermintide just appeared to be a bit too demanding to both record using Raptr and me play with a smooth sort of gameplay at the same time. But it seemed to get a different result this time. The first two games, both Shadowplay and Raptr, got a consistent 60 FPS, no problem whatsoever there. In Chivalry, when I was even when I wasn't recording, getting a bit below 60 anyway, neither piece of software seemed to have any real added adverse effect while they're recording. It seemed to get the same results if I was recording in frame rate and when I wasn't recording, regardless of which software I used. So which was a really nice result. So Raptr seems to have redeemed itself a bit. And maybe if you can't use Shadowplay, you've got the option of Raptr. Even if you can use Shadowplay, maybe you might want to use Raptr if you think the footage looks better. As I say, you've seen the side-by-side comparisons for all the games. It's entirely up to you. If you think one looks better than the other, you can go with that. And remember, both pieces of software are free anyway. So if you can run both, give both a bash. Maybe you prefer the UI of one, or you think one's just a bit more user-friendly, easy to use. If you have problems with either one, you've got an alternative. And if you can't use Shadowplay, you can just use Raptr. So two really nice free pieces of software. Shadowplay, if you've got an NVIDIA system, it's probably the one I'm going to stick with just because I'm used to it. Runs really nice for me on an NVIDIA system. If you want to try Raptr out, give it a bash. That might work better for you, even if you have got an NVIDIA card. And if you don't, Raptr is more flexible. You can use it on more pieces of hardware. So in this test, which is my follow-up test, which a couple of people asked me to do, pretty much neck and neck. I couldn't really separate these two out based on the results I got. So that's going to be my suggestion there. Give both a bash if you can. If you can't use Shadowplay, you've got Raptr. It's a really nice and completely free alternative. No restrictions whatsoever. Really nice there. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you've got any more questions about either the footage I took or the two pieces of software, I'll try and answer them. If you're interested in any of the three games you saw, please let me know. I've got Tempest I've already done, which is the pirate game. I've done a first impressions on that already. So if you click on that link there, that'll take you to that video. That was a first impressions kind of / review series I did on that. That'll give you the big rundown of the game and what I think about it. Quite a fun little game. Click on that link if you want to see that. If you're interested in the other two types of games, which were Chivalry, and you've got, what was the other one? You've got, I forgot what it is now, the Mountain Blade Warband mod. That was it. If you're interested in those two, let me know. Maybe I can do a video on those. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.